the history behind the painting behind you?
This one?
Mm-hmm.
This was the painting process that I led my mum and daughter through.
History behind the...
I can't remember what the prompts was. Like, what was it? Well, it was beautiful because it was taking my mum and my daughter through it, and it happened to be on my grandmother's birthday. So it was about discovering the riches that come through the matriarchal lineage.
Yeah.
I do know what it was about. Yeah.
Did your mum enjoy it?
She had a bit of trouble getting loose. She enjoyed it, but she needed some practice getting loose. But hers was about finding peace, and she did get very peaceful, and it was really nice. Miller's was amazing.
Yeah, I remember hers.
Yeah.
That one I remember.
Yeah, it was incredible. But it was so interesting to see how her intention was to help shed her anxiety, and it was so interesting, her resistance to direction. External time she had to follow a direction, she'd get really cranky and she'd want to do it herself, and it's like it was such an externalization of the things that make her feel anxious. It was so interesting, and how we can butt heads in our journey together as parent and child.
Did she witness that in herself?
Not sure if she did, but at the end she did thank me very much, and she was glad that I pushed her to do it. So but yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
May there be many more.
Yeah. Indeed.
How are you going, Chantel?
I am. We're here. We're live. Hello, everyone.
Hello. Hi, indeed. We can't see it come up yet, so I can't mute my thing yet. But when it appears, I shall.
There will be that lapse, won't there?
Yeah.
Good.
So hi, everybody.
Hello and welcome. This is our first open studio. Yay!
Imaginary confetti.
Yes. We're very grateful to be here.
Miller made me this, so I brought this along.
I feel like I want to shake a paintbrush about in excitement for this.
Yeah, I've got a dust in here. Might have to pick up a paintbrush.
So grateful for you joining us, and whenever you're joining us, if you're joining us now live, if you're joining sometime in future and watching, welcome to our first open studio with us, your guides in the realm of becoming. So I'm Chantel, I'm here with Bianca and Noni, and the three of us are your guides in this realm. And so we're bringing to you today a creative process, a painting process. And so we're very excited to do that. And we're going to be using an approach that we call, that's called intentional creativity. And what that means is actually making with intention, creating with intention. That's simply what it translates to. And so we have a process that involves bringing ourselves to the canvas, showing up as we are, seeing what comes out, and that's what we work with. So there's no artistic genius required. There's no talent required. This is not a school for learning how to do really excellent painting techniques or how to get perspective right or all those things. We're not doing that in our painting process. We're actually inviting you to create with us, and we'll be creating along with you. And the purpose is that we are taking a look at who we are and witnessing, who am I right now? Who am I becoming? So there's no artistic genius required.
That was me. Just checking that we are live.
Love it. And thank you for checking that, because I did want to know, because I was curious. So
we were going to announce to everyone that this is a trial run, technically.
Yep, exactly.
This may happen.
So this may not be your typical live stream offering. We are going to be a little bit casual probably from time to time, and we will be checking things and making sure they work. And the reason is because we want to bring you so much more of this. This is the beginning. This is the first one, but we're planning so much more. There's so much more content to bring to you, so much that we want to bring to help you on your journey of becoming, and whatever that means for you. So this is the start, and we're so glad that you're here with us, joining us today. And we are going to be painting for around 4 hours or so. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens. And but we'll have some breaks in between as well. And you're welcome to have your supplies with you. We've got paints, and we've got canvases, brushes, and water, and a cloth. We're using acrylic paints today. They dry really quickly, so that's quite nice. We're going to keep it moving. Like as we paint, the process is that we're going to keep that flowing on. So we don't want to be stuck in thinking, oh, did I do that right? Was that good enough? Did I get the color right? We don't really want to get caught up in that, and we don't want to focus that way. Just want to keep it moving along, and what builds on top of that? What could come next? What could we do with that? Whatever's showing up. So that's how we're rolling with it. So we don't want to be stuck in the energy of perfection or attachment to what we're doing. So with that, I would love to hear some more from Bianca and Noni, who are going to talk more about what's coming up and what we're doing next.
Yay. Thanks, Chantel. So exciting to be here with you both and with you all today, either now or in the future. So I'm Bianca, and I welcome you here today to join us in our very first open studio process that we are calling Divine Cornucopia. So it's a journey to transform our awareness and your awareness of the riches of your soul. And these soul riches were embedded within you at the moment of your becoming. These divine gifts bring abundance and nourishment when we allow them to flow through our being unhindered. And it's some of those hindrances that we're going to look at, removing, transforming, clearing, whatever you want to think of, moving through those things so that that essence of your soul can flow through you with as much light and as much ease as it can. So we're going to explore these soul riches and their relationship with our prosperity in this lifetime here on earth. In the future, our offerings will be limitless in the themes that we invite you to. But there's going to be an ongoing theme about realizing the conditioning that we carry with us and releasing this, or deconditioning, changing our beliefs and stories as we choose, and allowing ourselves to become more fully who we are, so we can be present and relaxed in just who it is that we actually are. So often the impulse to create is described as an elemental force that can reflect the unimaginable inner richness, the gifts and the abundance of the divine. What we call divine, you may know by another name, and that's totally okay. It's the essence of this understanding that's important. The divine finds its representation within us in what can be known as our soul, the spark of God, the monad, the light within, our higher self, or whatever other term you choose. So this creative cosmic source that is flowing through us in this immense, overflowing, limitless potential is going to come through us today in our painting process. So I want you to be really free and playful with that. And you can laugh with me, because every time I've read Cosmic Source in the last couple of days, I have thought Cosmic Source. And I do have my source bottle. Because we're not here to be serious. We're not here to do a process, even though it is profoundly transformational. We are approaching it with joy and with fun and with real heart. Okay, so we're going to do a little process to free our bodies up and to clear our field before we start. So a lot of times people will come into a process of cleansing and clearing with the idea that their burdens or their experiences are a weight that needs to be gotten rid of. Whereas we have a different view that our experiences are the very essence of what nourishes and feeds our soul growth. So we're going to do a field clearing. We're going to imagine all of those experiences that we're turning into compost to create a rich and vital soil beneath our feet. So you can do this field clearing in any number of ways. You can use your hand, you can use a large paintbrush like I may, you can use a smudge stick or a feather or a broom or whatever other crazy implement that you can use to have fun, or you can just use your hand. So I'll get you to stand up now and find your feet on the ground, and we're going to imagine the field around us is a bit like a house. A bit of a house that the floor needs sweeping, that we've forgotten all the bits of dirt that have been walked in that can be quite useful, but they're just in the wrong spot. So we're going to take some long sweeping strokes and we're going to just start brushing them down. I'm going to use my hand first. So we're going to flow down from our head to our toes and flicking our fingers at the bottom. And just imagine brushing all of the emotions, the emotional dross, the debris, anything we don't need in our field, just clearing that out. If you're at home and you want some music to do this another time, you can put some music on. But right now we're just going to get moving. I had some tuning forks in the other room. That could be quite useful. So sound is really good for clearing that field as well. Oh, actually, no, they're right here. Excellent. So you can use sound to break up any accumulation in your field. And just imagine, as you're cleaning it down, that it's going into a space below you where the earth itself is composting all of those experiences into rich, fertile soil that you're standing on. And if you like, you can even begin to imagine the flowers growing around your feet as you clear yourself. Okay. So in the future, if you like, you can pause this and you can keep going with this process for as long as you like. But for now, we're going to feel fully cleared and come present. And we're going to do a blessing of our canvas. Because just as we've cleansed ourselves, now we're going to make, it's like we're making a statement that we are entering into a process, entering into a journey with ourselves, with our soul, and with the other things that we are using on this journey. And our canvas is the main point of focus. So we're going to start to relate to this canvas like it's a living being, like it can actually give us feedback. So just as you're thinking about that, just allow your hand to move over your canvas and just feel the sensations coming back through your hand as you're doing that, becoming aware of the tactile sensations through your fingers coming back from the canvas as you're starting to enter now into that relationship with your canvas. So we can do a blessing of our canvas simply with the laying on of our hands, which is not simple at all, but we can just use our hands to be fully present. And as you do that, allow yourself to speak either verbally or non-verbally to your canvas. You may choose to bless your canvas water. As water carries the vibration, something really nice that you can do is to get some rainwater or water from a stream, and you can whisper to it or hold it with intent, and then place that intent onto your canvas. You can use a flower to bless your canvas with the presence of nature. You can use smudge, you can use anything. Okay. And with that, I'm going to now pass over to my fellow beautiful teachers for the next stage of the process.
That was just gorgeous, Bianca.
Thanks, Lainey.
So I would like to invite you now just to settle into a resting position, whether that be a seat or even lying down. And we are just going to visit that place of silence within. And it's a good check-in now for us to do that before we start moving at the canvas. So once you settle into your posture, just recognize the freedom so that you can naturally align from the inside out. Sense your body sinking, held by the earth and its natural force. Let your eyes drift, float around. Notice the shapes around indifferently. Just be present to what you see around you. Move your awareness into the space of your eyes. Go inside your eyes. Inhabit the roots of your eyes, the seeing out from your eyes. Become the consciousness from where your eyes see. Live inside the seeing of your eyes. Feel this experience is happening in the whole of your body. Now notice the silent force inside you that is aware of sight. Now move inside your eyelids. Feel them growing heavy as they close. Take your attention to the sounds that are present in your space. Hear the sounds with indifference. Move your awareness into your ears. Go inside and become the space of your ears. Live inside the inner experience of your body whilst in the act of hearing. Notice that, which is noticing the body experience sound. Move your awareness to the gates of your nostrils. Smell with indifference the scents that are entering your nose as you breathe in. Now go inside the right and the left canals, where they go up and they meet at the root of the nose. Inhabit the space of the nose. Become the consciousness of the nose. Live inside the experience of smelling. and feel this inner experience the body is having during the act of smelling. Connect with a deeper presence within you that is aware of the experience of smell. Now lay your attention down along the surface of your tongue. Notice with indifference the tastes in your mouth. Move inside the space along your tongue and become the space that is known as taste buds. Live inside the consciousness of your taste buds tasting. And stay connected to your whole body's experience. Notice that which is watching taste happen. Now rest your attention heavily onto the skin of your palms. Notice with indifference the temperature of the space in contact with your skin. Move inside your palms and become the consciousness of this space. Feel your whole body's experience whilst your skin is in the act of touching. Notice the being within you that is aware of touching. Now come in more deeply to the insides of your body. Feel the inward experience of your body being supported by the earth. Notice the certainty within you that knows you are being held. Now walk more deeply inward to reside inside the entire house of your body. Become the consciousness of your body. Notice what it feels like to live inside all of you. Head to toe, side to side. Deepen into the depths. Widen into the width. Lengthen into the length. Know that you are directly experiencing and knowing your wholeness. The vastness of the riches and treasures of your body's interior consciousness. Notice that which is witnessing your wholeness. Stay with the quiet presence of your wholeness. And when you are ready, open your eyes and rejoin us. Hello. That stillness within inside us is a wonderful place to start when we're about to embark on a painting journey such as this. So we've placed it here with intention. It is at this point where our inner and outer walls are aligned, you could say, or indifferent, where the veil is quite thin for us. So it is a very good time to contemplate an intention and then write it on the canvas, which is what we will do. So what we've talked about to this point and what we're here today to do will help inform our intention. This may be new to you. What's an intention? Where we're being mindful about what it is that we want to create. So for example, an intention may be a statement, maybe an inquiry. It may be a feeling that you want to feel more of. It is an intention of bringing something forth. Now, it's not about knowing the how or the when or the why. That's the mystery. And so quite often when we create, we are bringing something forth that we don't necessarily know where it comes from. Yeah, that's that aspect of the mystery. So in terms of an example, if you were to make an intention, an inquiry, it can be more playful, more open to that mystery. And an example may be, may I discover more which my soul longs to show me. And you see how open-ended that is. Yeah, it's very, very much dancing with the mystery. And what we do know is that most of us will discover something during this process that we didn't know before. That's what we do know. You could get a little bit more detailed and a bit more specific in a statement. Something like, when we talk about prosperity, illuminate my path to prosperity. Or if you're like me, a bit more holistic and want to be inclusive and just bring us all up, something like illuminate our collective paths to prosperity. So it could be an inquiry, it could be a statement. Just be present to what comes up for you. You may want to pause it here and just sit at a piece of paper and write it there. I will invite you, however, to just pour some paint out, any color you feel drawn to. Don't get tied up on which one's right, which one's wrong for you. I'm going to demonstrate, okay? And then grab a paintbrush, just dip it in a bit of water so you've got some fluidity, and paint your intention straight on the canvas. Some of us in intentional creativity, when we practice daily in just allowing at the canvas, we don't even know what's going to come onto the canvas when we're standing there and we put the brush to the canvas. You can be that allowing. Mm-hmm. See where your soul feels it's ready to go for you. Everything is right. There is no wrong. Pen, paper first, canvas, whatever is right for you, you will know. Okay. So I'm going to go with a color that kind of stands out for you on camera. You may want something lighter, like a yellow. Just like I mentioned, anything that feels right for you. And I'm going to go with the statement because that felt good all the way to my core when I said that. I kind of tingled. And you may have noticed that my canvas has something there already. She's ready to get transformed, as am I. And so therefore I've just done a really light coating in white. So you can still see a little bit of her now, and that's okay. And another thing that we do if you're new to painting and you're depending on your climate, so here it's a bit warm, things dry really quickly, and I might want to just spray the canvas just so there's a light moisture there. This can be as messy as you like. We are not pleasing anyone. We are expressing ourselves. Yeah. And if you feel like doing anything else, go for it.
And if you want to document what you're doing, take photos along the way as well, because
Definitely.
we're going to end up covering up a lot of what we're painting here. So if you want to capture it, feel free to pause and get a photo of it as well.
And this spray bottle, this water spray bottle, at this point, I'm going to spray it just to get some lines happening with the color there and just introduce some organic shapes. Yeah. Not too hard. We don't want all our paint running off the canvas. See how it's going to start to just pull down the page a little. If there's one spot that's where you first started and it started to dry a little, you might just want to go back and revisit with another spray. And another really cool thing is that if you've got the drips happening in one direction, this is where we start to play. You can just start to get a little bit more happening in another way. Maybe you go, oh, I'd like a little bit more color up here. Do whatever takes your fancy. Remember, not too wet because it will all run off. And every now and then you'll find us with paper towels and we will, or you want a drop sheet.
That's what I was running to get for my new studio.
yeah.
Drop sheet.
Something that's going to catch those. And I just realised that I'm on a bright white floor, so I may be doing the same.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, I'm not in the floor that usually is covered in paint. Better not cover this floor in paint. And speaking of, I have my my fancy painting apron as well, because the paint, if you get it on your clothes, it's not going to come out.
Yes. Love it. Love the apron.
No, that's classy of my
mother-in-law.
I'm just following Chantel's lead and grabbing a camera. So I have one at the ready. And thankfully this is recorded. So I probably don't need the camera, do I?
Maybe not so much.
Just if I want a close up perhaps or something framed. But, you know, like I mentioned, this is our first time live. So I'm going to have these little glitches. At least the presence is there that I realised beforehand. So how are you both going?
Yeah, good. I was really surprised by my intention, actually. Like, I really had no idea, like when you're describing, like, yeah, sometimes we show up at the canvas and we don't know. I really didn't know until the brush was there on the canvas. And also, I was just thinking about signing my intention as well, just putting my initials there. It's all going to be covered up, but that's okay. It's just to make a mark that I'm acknowledging my intention.
That's where the symbology, if I add a symbol, quite often it will be representing for me personally the feeling that I'm having as I write the words. So
I love that. Love that. Yeah.
So ultimately what we're doing is we're we're resonating into that canvas, our intention. It's an expression, and this space that we're in, this shared space. It will be interesting to see how our threads intertwine as we go through. How are you, Bianca?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm interested that the colour that I was drawn to use, I haven't used for a long time. But I used to start all my paintings with a wash of Indian yellow.
Ooh.
So that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before, that was like when I was doing much more abstract landscapes, everything had to start with a wash of Indian yellow. So that's very...
So that was your ritual?
That was my ritual, yes, it was. It was like, I'm here.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So this might be about reclaiming some parts of myself that I've lost or forgotten.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you both end up with an inquiry or a statement? Have you stayed open? Where have you
A statement. I ended up with a statement. Dancing and loving my path of freedom.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Well, I was mine was to show me how to be more free and comfortable being 100% me.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And I feel like a teenager whilst I'm writing that. Like I felt. Yeah. I have these memories of being 14 at a high school dance, and I was so awkward and so uncomfortable. I was dancing with a guy, and I was just mortally, so painfully embarrassed I couldn't move. And that's what was coming up in my mind when I was writing that, like literally. So that's interesting. Get a bit of get my book out.
Yeah.
Bit of that cosmic source and silliness. Like, me. How could you be so embarrassed as a 14-year-old that you can't dance? But no offense to any 14-year-olds that are feeling embarrassed they can't dance. I get it. I was so, like, I literally couldn't move. So I are fully moving through that, whatever that is clearing.
Yeah. Paralysis be gone.
Yes.
Kind of hoping you're going to paint with that sauce at some point, Bianca.
I was considering blessing my canvas with the sauce. It didn't quite get there, but there was intention. Does that count?
Still time to go. Still ways to go. We'll see what happens.
It has got the right kind of, like, it could very... I didn't get time to bedazzle it for its super special secret sauce.
You're bedazzling it.
Yes.
It might be more suitable for a glaze at the end, because I'm not sure about the drying capacity. You know, you just get that shiny sheen at the end.
Oh, yeah. For one of those, I did once do an artwork where I used yogurt to paint on a wall so that moss would grow in that spot. Might be might be a bit similar.
That's a whole other thing we need to play with another time, by the way.
Yes.
Condiments from the kitchen on canvas. What will grow?
I believe I would have a lot of ants adorning. You know, I wouldn't have to embellish at the end through tiny dots. They would just come.
Not appear to be part of the art.
It would have to be organic. Like, I wouldn't want to hurt the ants.
Well, that's right. The new take on an ant farm.
Yeah.
And Noni, what came up for you as your intention? I'm curious.
So it does have that show me aspect to it, even if it was a statement, because what I'm calling forward is to illuminate the path to prosperity. And I really was looking at it in terms of this offering that I am here with you and with those that join, being like showing that path for all of us. So just really the collective, all of us, it's there for us to look at and illuminate that path. So it is a shared intent in that sense. Yeah, yeah. It felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it. Yeah, mine felt good too. It felt very playful.
I like playful.
Yeah, fun. It's fun to have that.
So how's yours drying? I've got a couple of little spots just because of my humidity here that is going to be glossy. And before we move on to our next step, depending on where you are located, dry or humid, you may want to just find those spots that are super glossy that you can see on an angle. And if you want, you may just dab a little off where it's just heavy before we start our next step, just to help it, because we are going to be moving at pace quite often in an open studio where we've got the luxury of, you know, a day workshop or a couple of days. We'll just go and have a cup of tea. But right now, I'm just going to, and if it, you know, moves it around somewhere and I dab it and it creates another pattern, well, that's part of the process.
Yeah, mine's pretty dry, I think. Got a good temperature going here today to help that dry pretty quick.
Yeah, mine's pretty dry. I think the, I don't know, it feels like someone's turned the central heating up to about 25 degrees in here.
Another thing you may notice if you're watching as you're painting with this kind of process, you may find your body temperature is changing as well. Just by the way.
It might not be the central heating at all. It might just be me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I'm starting to get warm, even from just painting the intention.
Yeah.
Mine's pretty dry. It's pretty dry.
Nice.
So I'm good for the next
all right
movement on.
Okay. Well, we can take a moment here, even if you're watching at the moment and your canvas has still got a few spots that are drying off. And we're inviting you to consider the essence of your soul, the riches of your soul. What does your soul feel and know? How do we know that? How do we practice what our soul knows? What could be different in your life, or what could happen for you if you were to bring in these inquiries about your soul and your soul's knowing and the riches of your soul, and considering that? What could happen if you brought that into how you live every day and what you do, your livelihood, your business, your career, other pastimes that you have, relationships? I mean, it could go limitless where you could bring it in. But what could happen? And you don't have, and these are the type of questions you don't have to have an answer for it. There doesn't have to be a direct piece of information that you know for sure. It might be, it might not be. Can let also allow it to be a question that you're holding, and that as you're holding this question, we're actually going to go back to our canvas and the portal, as Bianca called it earlier, and we're going to play with some paint there, and we're simply going to hold this question, hold this inquiry. What does my soul feel and know? What is in the essence of my soul? So let's just hold that, and we hold it lightly, and we're going to go back to the canvas, and again, it's choosing a color that you feel called to use. can be whatever you like. You don't have to spend too much time choosing, just what comes to you out of what you've got there. We're going to be using 3 colors for this part. So just choose first one to start with. I'm going to this type of light red ochre, Venetian red. And I'm going to use a larger brush than what I did for my intention. It's got a rounded end to it because I want to be quite loose with moving the paint around for this part. So I'm holding this inquiry and then I just want to play and let my body move with it. And I want to just add lines and marks to the canvas in big motions. And the invitation with the first one we're going to paint, and we're all going to be demoing it, so you'll see what we do, is this is an invitation for your soul to engage with you. So what is the shape of your soul? What is the shape of your soul? And you can also spray your canvas down first with some water. I'm going to do that because I want the paint to flow and drip a little bit.
You won't need a lot of paint either. This is just going to be some lines and markings. We're marking our canvas with intention. So yeah, go easy on how much paint you tip out. Maybe Chantal, you can show us how much you've got.
Yeah, I've got some just on the end of my brush there, but I'll probably do quite a lot of my motion with just the paint I've got on my brush because I've also wet the canvas. The paint's going to move around and move a little bit with the damp paint underneath that's already there. And I want that to happen. I want that kind of mixing to go on. I'm going to start from the top. And I'm not going to think too much about it. I'm just going to let my arm move in a way that feels good. The shape of my soul.
So we're inviting here. This has got the energy of inviting.
Engage emotions.
Engage with me.
Engage. Yeah.
Engage.
And as you see what comes out on the canvas, you may then feel drawn to move the paint in a different way or spray a bit of water on it and let some of the paint move about. And it can go in any direction you want. And at any point with this type of approach that we're demonstrating, at any point you can listen into yourself. If you want to go, well, now for the next part, I want to just move my canvas another way. Go ahead and do it.
Incredibly dry here. And
if you're watching this later, at any point, you can take as long as you want, right? So you can pause and take as long as you like. If you feel a part calls to you that you want to spend time with that color or that movement and you just want to keep on moving with it, and go ahead. So in the meantime, at the moment for today, with our moving at pace, so we just keep it all flowing, I invite you to pick a second color. It's just a second color that calls to you from your range there that you want to. Again, we're just going to use a little bit of that paint, and we're going to do now another type of motion, another type of line or shape will come out. And this time, the invitation is to the unknown. And so we're inviting you to engage with the unknown. What does my soul know? And maybe it's, what does my soul know that right now I don't know? Again, we're just holding it lightly, just considering that. And you can spray more water if you like to do the second motion, the second line. And with this one, I'm feeling like filling that in a bit so it's becoming a bigger shape. And I'm just holding that idea of engaging with the unknown. This invitation to the unknown. What does that bring up? What does that feel like for you? Just move the paint around as you hold that. And where I've got thicker paint showing up, usually at the start of my line, I'm spraying that with water so then I can play with that color a bit more.
And just for those of you that might be seeing me spray, it's not necessarily because I'm looking for drips, it's because it is so hot here that my acrylic paint dries really, really quickly. So by putting a bit of water on the canvas, I just find that I don't run out of paint so quickly. I just get that flow motion.
And I'm feeling like turning my canvas around again. So I'm going to do that. All right. How are we going? Ready for a third color? Okay, I'm going to go with my magenta from before that I used for my intention. And this time, I invite you to consider your relationship with your soul. Soul has been speaking to me my whole life. Just hold those ideas. I do know about my relationship with soul. So consider that relationship, that relating. And soul has been speaking to me my whole life. What does my soul invite me to discover? Just holding those ideas and those inquiries, I invite you to take a third color. And again, wetting the canvas if you need to, and just a little bit of paint on the end of the brush, and again just bringing your body into it.
And we could just be doing lines, we could do markings, we could be scrubbing in the whites. Just look at your canvas, feel where you're drawn to on this third color, and leave some space, leave some white sections, just to invite in new in the next coming layers.
Now you tell me that leave some more.
Surprise!
There's no right or wrong.
There is not. And if you haven't got white, you can, if you've got a splodge of wet paint somewhere, you can spray it with water and let that thin out a little bit if you want to thin out some of the color somewhere. Interestingly, I'm never good at leaving much white on my canvas. You know, right from the beginning. Like I see the white pass, I'm like, oh, what could go there? What could go there?
To the point where I got a whole lot of different coloured gesso, so it just starts out not white.
Like it.
I've also broken rules and put a metallic on right early, which is always
daring.
Very daring.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so much fun.
So much trouble though when it's there and you don't want it later.
Yeah.
Like, down you go.
That leads to a whole lot of other discovery, doesn't it?
That's right.
I've already put this there. Now I don't want it there. Well, what am I doing about this?
I reckon if it's the light of my soul coming through, then it's okay.
Sparkling away there.
Uh-huh.
And quite often, the point where we're ready to complete this step is when you run out of paint.
Yeah. Yep. Turning my canvas around again, let the drips go the other way for a bit. We're going to start transitioning into the next thing. We're going to keep it flowing and moving.
So you're dripping? You're dripping, are you?
I'm very drippy. I'm thinking.
You're both drippy.
I'm very drippy, and I'm thinking, gosh, I have to glaze. I'm like, I gotta work on some.
We might do some dabbing. some dabbing with a cloth might be in my cloth here.
Let's do a little dabby dance. We'll just, yes, a little, yeah, because I've been a little bit heavy-handed with my soul marks. But it's drying pretty quickly.
Yeah, mine too. I feel like my soul had a lot to say already. So I think that's what happened there.
That's right.
Well, mine's been rather loud.
Mine's literally being loud.
Bold. Yeah. There's some bold shapes coming through.
I'm just demonstrating to everybody that it's, the colours at this stage, you just go with what you want. You're drawn to. There is zero perfection in this state. There is no, oh, that's going to clash, or some kind of, conditioned state that we're placing limitations on ourselves. Let's just pick colours we feel like picking. And it's potentially all going to get covered over at this stage. We're very early at this point, so just be free.
Yeah.
Let it all just drip into each other and make gorgeous new colours.
Absolutely. And new shapes as well. And it's such a good reminder, Noni, about, that there are so many rules that we can sometimes be adhering to without meaning to or not. So just that reminder that this is a space where you can be free with that. And if you notice that you're looking for particular matching colors or something like that, so maybe do something a little bit different. This is a time you could.
I'm loving this. This the blue and that's magenta. And there's this golden, it's yellow oxide, this color for those that want a specific color. And it's just all very, it feels like texture and textiles. Yeah.
Yes.
With the threads all dripping together.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, there's lots going on in mine already that I'm loving. Some interplays of paint that I wasn't expecting. And interesting. And I felt very, very risque, like choosing primary cyan. Like that is a color that it's very full. I don't ever use it. So that was very interesting.
Breaking out the full bottles.
Yeah, in fact, primary cyan and green gold, they're not really colors that I usually would be ever drawn to, but I'm loving what's happening here. So that's very exciting. Yeah, excellent. I reckon we're almost good to go. Okay, so how are you guys? How are they going in dampness?
Probably need about
we're all good over here.
3 hair dryers in 5 minutes. Came in late with the spray bottle.
Oh, okay, all right. Well,
you guys continue, and I will attend to it.
Okay, that's all right. I've got some drips too. So, I'm actually thinking how interesting it is. This color is so similar to this painting on the wall behind me, to the point where I can't see that. And when I painted this, which was 15 years ago, it was the most radical thing that I had ever done, because I wasn't painting anything, and it was with a colour that I considered so outrageously bright at the time that I was almost too embarrassed to actually use this colour. Again, coming back to this embarrassment thing.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I kept it because there's something about it, that the simplicity that I really like, but also just this, like, I'm like, it's a bunch of like pale yellow green squares. Like, how could have you thought this was so radical and so embarrassing? That's really interesting. And the fact that this has come out almost the same colour is really very, very interesting.
You've just prompted a memory in me and this painting behind me, and how it already connects with the intention I wrote. So I just mentioned before, these colors as they come down are like threads all together. I traveled to Thailand many years ago, and I spent a lot of time just immersed in culture, and nothing like especially curated where it was touristy thing. And I met a woman, and she taught backstrap weaving. And when I was there, she didn't speak English very well, but we were able to communicate. Like, we're just doing things, and I can just copy, right? And so she taught me how to thread the backstrap on this big contraption. It was amazing setup. And I was asked to pick out 3 colors. And there's 3 colors here that appeared in that it turned out to be a bag. And when I finished and put it together, she was just like, they're the colors of the monks. And I'm like, And she said, the colors of the monks. So it is amazing that, that reciprocal relationship between us and the external, and that the little time that I'd spent in Thailand, I was already expressing the cultural colors. And whether I consciously sort of had seen that and become aware of that and somehow sort of stored it down deep and then expressed it, I don't know. I don't need to know. But I'm just reminiscing here around that collective pathways to prosperity, and how that town was so intertwined in their own prosperity, that sort of tribal aspect was very strong, in that they all supported each other, and that it was a community in that sense, and they all prospered together. Yeah. Goosebumps. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Known.
I love it. How
going back in the past and bringing it here as well, that kind of breaking down that barrier of time, or that conventional thinking of time as linear.
And noticing the synchronicities and the interweaving of the threads as they run through our life and our experience, and how important it is to be open to that communication, because that is really the way that the soul communicates with us so often, isn't it? By allowing things to flow into our awareness, and we have to be aware enough to grab onto it and to pull it down, like pulling a dream into our waking consciousness so much. That's what we really need to do with that soul communication, is to grab it and to pull it into our conscious living awareness in this world, and not allow it to exist in that future time space, which we so often do. Like, in the future time space I'll be connected, or in the future time space I'll be aligned and flowing. And it's like in this time space, in this awkward thing, when I'm juggling lunches and family and doing all this, and how am I going to make it in here now? Have it my full self. Yeah. Because, life's always pretty messy. Life isn't always this, like, we don't actually have, or many of us don't have the ability to do the monk balancing, to go, I'm going to align to my soul. As long as no one knocks me off my balance, I'll be okay. Because we're always being knocked off our balance, and we can't use that as a reason why we can't be aligned to our soul. To claim it and embody it, and it's somehow like really like linking it in, so that thread is not so weak and wishy-washy that it's always out of our grasp.
Yeah, it is claiming it. It is almost stating I am responsible, and claiming it, and bringing that aspect that, it opens to them possibilities, and that it doesn't have to be the same always, and some kind of it'll happen for me in the future. If I just do that, if I focus on that, then that will happen. Just bring it now in whatever capacity that you have it, and honor it, and be grateful for where it is now. That it is, be open, set these intentions, let's bring forth.
And that's really where we're going with our next part of our process, isn't it? Into that transitional ritual of stepping into making that visible, and stepping from that invisible, ethereal kind of connection, and claiming it in the here and now, and bringing that connection visible in our lives. So with that, I'm going to invite you into a transitional ritual process. So we can look at our canvas now. You can choose to flip it now or flip it in the future, but we are very soon going to turn it. So I'll just get you prepared for that, because I want you to let go of any attachments. And I've already gone twice now. I'm like, I like it like that. I'm like, I should turn it. And I like it like this. And I'm like, I have to turn it again. Yeah. I'm like, but I already like it again like this. So I think I'm going to leave mine like this and turn it in a moment, because I'm enjoying what's happening here. But so we're going to just take a moment. I want you to go within, and if you're choosing 1 to 2 colours as a signifier of your self-initiation, to claim that connection with your soul, to claim bringing what is invisible, what gifts you have that you have been hiding from yourself, and bringing them to the fore, what colour or colours are you going to choose? So just selecting 1 to 2 colours now. I'm going to get you to choose your colours. I'm going to dance over here to get mine, because they're further away. And it's interesting, I thought I was going to choose something else, but I've actually come to like my 2 all-time favourite colours. Not quite sure how they're going to play with this, but these are the ones that want to come forward for me. And these are my like Southern Ocean blue and the magenta, or like a quinacridone magenta. These are they called my soul. They're my soul call colours. I'm going to do here. I feel like I'm running out of space. Let me move some paints up here. So when we do a glaze, we can do a really heavy glaze or we can do a light glaze. That's totally up to you. And with this glaze, we're going to actually glaze most of our painting, or all of it. Just see where you feel called. But what I want you to do is to stand in front of your painting, and with the mark, I want you to reach out and be really intentional with your marks for this next laying on of paint. I want you to be fully present, eyes wide open, standing in your body and really calling all parts of yourself here now. So without further ado, if your painting is dry enough, you want to give it a good damp down with a spray bottle for a glaze, because otherwise you risk not making a glaze and just making something rather heavy. Something that we also do when we're choosing our glaze colours is it's most common to choose glaze colours that are opaque in nature. You don't have to, but just recognise if you're choosing something that has got white in it as well, it's going to be harder to get a glaze-like quality with the paint that you choose. And you risk losing a lot of the texture that we're building up with the layers.
I might just pop you both on mute and hit this with a fan.
Okay.
Sure thing.
Yes, it's built up enough dampness now, it's just not drying. So you've got to love this sort of like this hot, humid air that I seem to be having fun with.
Yeah.
But basically what I'm expressing to those of you that are new to paint, that if I were to spray this with water and apply a wash, a glaze, something transparent that will unify the colours that are there now, I will lose the lines. It will all blend, and I may end up with less contrasting aspects, and I'd love to keep some of these shapes and have them come through. So I'm going to do that.
See, mine is pretty much, you can see there's a little bit, I'm going to get a little bit of smushing, but most of mine is dry. So do we want to wait for Noni to dry hers before we do our transition, or should we just transition and then?
I think let's start our transition.
Okay, all right. Let's go. And so using a rather large brush that you can scrub with. So brushes, just cheap hog hair or a synthetic brush, large synthetic brush. It's good for glazing. Interesting, I'm using all of these brushes that I don't usually ever use. So, all right, I'm going to turn my back to you just momentarily while I get fully present with my painting.
Sure thing.
And call myself fully present. Oh, I'm loving the rainbow of dots on my floor.
You redesigning your floor?
Well, I've got some paper down. I should say dots on the paper, and hopefully that's where it's going to stay. Because I really don't want to have to like sand the floorboard stuff.
Don't want to add that into your weekend, no?
No. Although I do seem to be splattering paint on the all over the wall behind me too. That's interesting. Clearly, I'm getting very expressive. All right. So with the glazing, you can use this spray bus to let the paint run down, or you can use a little bit of paper towel or a rag to dab the paint, to spread it, to give it a bit more texture. Now I'm actually going to flip mine. Loving how tuneful my canvas is. So very. Now I'm going, oh, it's so bright. It's like a carnival. I love it. I'm like, I don't know if I want to use my other color. It may be a very light glaze, this one.
Yeah, I always find that interesting, right? Like we move into the next part and we do it, and then sometimes it's just like, oh, do we hold it there?
Yeah.
New canvas. Just start again.
Yes.
Because I like what's there now.
I know. God, I feel like I'm in a theme park. I'm like, oh, I like that.
I'll turn my sound back on now that the jet fan has been
good
axed.
Oh, nice
it was a rather like large runway run-up type sound. So I was just going to share what two colors I'm being drawn to, earth colors. So green gold and quinacridone.
Yeah.
Lazo gold. It's a large word at the start, but for those of you that are looking for what paint may be suitable, these ones, you see how the color is quite transparent on the bottle, so that's communicating that this particular paint would be good for a glaze.
Yeah.
And the same as with the green gold. So quite often you'll find that the manufacturer of the paint are good to us in telling us whether they're going to be opaque or transparent or somewhere in between.
Yeah. And you'll notice that we are using a lot of water in our layering, and that's something that you can't do with all acrylic paint. But the fluid paints and like the golden fluid acrylics, I almost said organics, and the Matisse fluid to a similar degree, but not to the same degree, are designed to be thinned with water. A lot of acrylic paints, if you thin them with water, they'll actually break up and lose their plasticity, and you can't. Well, you need to use mediums with the water in order to stick it together, because they'll just peel off. But the golden fluid organics are designed for thinning with water. Okay, so Noni, I'm not sure if you got us, we were really calling ourselves fully present with these glaze layers, marking this as a transition to initiate ourselves, to call ourselves to be fully present.
I love how you can be so bold in changing the canvas before our eyes and how relevant that is to what's going on inside. It's something that we become more aware of as we practice intentional creativity more.
Okay. Just let me know how you're going with your glaze layers. And then we're going to do something into the wet paint. Mine's still wet, I don't know, but we'll see.
I'm finding when if I use the scrubby brush to spread the glaze, that then I'm losing some of the undermarks. So I'm just being gentle.
Yes, likewise. I had to dab very delicately and spritz a little too.
Getting there. I'm
What
loving
I
the glazing with bringing in that integration of what's
Yeah,
already been
beautiful.
before,
Yeah.
and then taking it all in and letting it all be together.
Yeah. Okay. I have a little poem, which is a part of a poem by Rumi that is called "Whoever Brought Me Here." All day I think about it, and then at night I say it. Where did I come from, and what am I supposed to be doing? I have no idea. My soul is from elsewhere, I'm sure of that, and I intend to end up there. What we're going to do whilst we've still got some wet paint is we're going to choose either one of the colours that you've just used for glaze or another colour if you desire. And we're going to paint an impression of our soul essence into that wet paint. You might be wet enough just to mark in, mine's dry, so I'm going to definitely need some other paint to help me with that. So this may be the image of your soul that is communicating to the image of your soul essence. It may be, you can choose to interpret those words in whatever way you desire. It may even be that you are just letting the paintbrush talk to you. But often in intentional creativity, we will paint a face, because with the face we can enter into a dialogue. So you may choose to create an image of the soul essence in a personified fashion so that you can enter more easily into a dialogue with that essence. I'm going to use, again, one of these round synthetic brushes today, but you can use any sort of brush that's going to give you movement and hold enough paint to give some fluid strokes. We don't want to be getting tight here at all. This is really important that we stay really free.
Getting super messy at this end.
I turn around and my soul essence looks like two big breasts, say, in the computer. It didn't look like that on here. They were eyes. They were eyes.
So we're just bringing a presence onto the canvas that has a sense of
Bringing a presence,
form.
With a sense of form, or you can choose to do it symbolically if that's what you feel drawn to. It's probably what I was feeling more drawn to, but for the purposes of demonstration, I'm going to do a figure that we can engage with. I guess you could think of it as the archetypal essence of your soul, or whatever. Just allow the paintbrush to move. And need more paint. Nice, large, fluid strokes.
And we're not looking to engage too much
Mental
humanness form. It's just what we're feeling, maybe a soul presence. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got some very subtle lines appearing. I didn't have much, got more of an energetic, ooh.
Well, I feel like I've got some alien dude wearing sunglasses.
Yeah.
Like that's like somehow channeling the scream.
I'm quite surprised by my form. I didn't really expect that. I didn't really know where it was going.
Yeah. Well, my soul was probably calling for a much less human expression, but said I was in fact, my soul essence is quite positively confused, I think, about the human expression, which is interesting. Which adds its own, interesting contemplation into our inquiry, doesn't it? As to
Oh, the leftover paint's coming through. Here we go.
oh, it's coming across very nicely on camera.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad it can be seen.
Well, I'm so excited by these bright primaries that every time I'm going to blend things, I'm like, oh, it's going toward mud. But I usually like that. I'm like, oh, but I don't like. It's really so interesting. I'm usually like, give me the mud. And now I'm like, oh, those clear, bright primaries. So I'm like, I'm loving that.
Deep breath. I feel like I'm at a paint party.
Excellent.
Me too.
That's how you should feel.
Yeah, right?
We just have to sort some dancing music, and then we'll be all right.
Yes, as long as we're pleasing Google with our
choices, our compliant choices.
Yes.
Our respectful and compliant choices.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, yummy colours. So happy on the inside here.
Excellent. I'm very happy. I'm unhappy with I don't usually use paper towel. I usually use a rag, and that is highly preferable because this paper towel is leaving all googly bits.
All manner of bits behind, right?
Yes, awful.
Yes.
I do usually have a whole bucket full of rags. Somewhere in the studio move, they've disappeared themselves. Okay, so whilst you're still doing that,
I could do this all day, by the way. I'm having such good time just making marks and contemplating and connecting and integrating. It's just
excellent. Well, I'm just going to step it up a little bit for you right now as you're doing that. So I want you to, or I'm going to invite you to now start making some marks to initiate the transformation of what is keeping you from fully expressing your soul. So as I was saying, there's all these things that I want to be happening and all these things that are holding back. So now I'm going to take some marks and I'm going to put them on and into and around this form that's going to be me communicating with myself what I need to move through in order to make a clear path for my soul light to flow through. So whatever that is for you. And so for me, there's seriously something that's wanting to be communicated through this mouth region, and there's some embarrassment going on around this eye thing. So I'm going to explore that. What's going on with the eyes and what's going on with what wants to be communicated. And I'm going to play around with some strokes with that. You can use any color you're drawn to. I'm going to go risky again and go into my metallics, because that's just what wants to happen.
as I listen to you, I'm just mixing all these wet aspects of part colors into one and making what might be called to this point a mother color. So it is a very unifying color. It is one of those terms in as an artist you get to learn about what a mother color is, where and how it is so complementary to all the other colors that are on the canvas up until this point. And for me, it is representative of this transition, this integration, and it looks like orange poo. And that's okay.
So this, whilst we're having fun with this process and this step, this can be a really intense part of the process for anybody. So just witness yourself here. Be aware that we are working with really deep concepts, and then you might feel them flowing through your body in different ways. Just be aware of how your body might be tensing, any emotions that might be coming up, and see if you can move that feeling onto the canvas and then deal with it in some way. So as I'm painting these great silver streaks that seem to be coming out of the mouth region of this being, I can feel my throat tightening up, and there's a tension, and actually there's a lot of emotion behind that. So I can feel that it's the sore throat that you get when you hold back tears. That so just really be aware of the fact that we're actually releasing really deeply and really deep stuff whilst we're having this dance paint party.
Yeah, I hear you on that, Bianca. I always find, and I was finding just now, that I hold my breath, right? So if I bring my awareness to it, I'm like, oh, I'm holding my breath. And why am I holding my breath? And why is that tension there? And then I'm bringing myself in to breathe deeper and to just feel more relaxed. And I'm noticing where the tension is. I'm bringing my shoulders up, I'm tightening my back, what's going on there. Let me release that while I paint. And I felt drawn to doing some very small movements with my darker lines. And actually what was helping me was the canvas was like a drum, right? So it was like drumming the canvas as I was doing these smaller marks. And that helped me kind of bring me back to my own rhythm. There was my own rhythm here that I need to align with again. How much am I getting pulled out of my own rhythm? And can I notice that and bring myself back in?
Beautiful.
I went to this place of intention around that tension release, around just with the breath, release again, and noticing in the muscles where there was tension in the body and allowing that to release as I made a mark. And I realized that the circles, that perhaps I would want to do something that was an opening of the cells and allowing in symbology for the energy to flow where it needed to flow. And so sometimes the marks can be as simple as that. They mean nothing when you look, but everything as you paint.
Yeah. So my I'm going to put some white in so you can see my silvery marks. But these this flow that was coming out of my mouth then wanted to mark itself around the painting, Noni. So that was like that. It's like you would never necessarily know that the marks around the painting were to do with what was coming out, but for me they are, and I know that.
Yeah.
And then she wanted tears, and she said to me, tears are okay. Got no idea what those tears are, and they don't feel related to what's coming out of my mouth, yet they're in the same color, so perhaps they are, but that's not something that's revealing itself to me right now.
And these are marks, may not look like traditional symbology, but it is an expression of self, and it's quite liberating. We are all authors of our own life, and in doing this, we are witnessing our own self-expression, which, we may have stopped when we were in high school, when we got so self-conscious and we got so embarrassed, that we paralyzed ourselves in our own expression. We paralyzed ourselves in our own allowing to participate in art, let alone engage with the word creative. How many of us acknowledge that we, just as humans, are creative? It is language that is becoming less and less common. And as I heard Shiloh Sophia is our teacher in intentional creativity, it meant something to me when she said we need a revolution in creativity, and in that sense, a revolution in the word for ourselves, in claiming it, that we are creative, whether you're making a bowl of soup or, dinner for a loved one or for yourself. that you are making, your hands are making, and in that you are transforming something, and bringing intention to that is where the magic is, where the mystery is. And so we're just being more, I guess, we're using paint, and we can use writing, and we can use drawing. It is a wonderful thing that when you mark with intention and you witness yourself, whether painting's your thing or not, just, it's a lived experience. And until you actually try it, I'd invite you to engage, just see what happens, you know. It's a phenomenon.
Yes. It really is. And a practice, right? We repeat this as a practice, and like Noni, like you were saying, you know, we repeat this when we're cooking maybe, or if we're gardening, or painting or drawing or writing, any number of things.
Mm-hmm. And it is that too, isn't it, that is with your soul work. You may be clear on what that is, but so far in life, expressing that and bringing that through and connecting that with prosperity, that may be something that you're here and you're painting with intention about creating a pathway for yourself forward, and creating a relationship to that from the internal to the external. Mm. And if that's the case, again, it's personal. We may not have written that on our canvas, and we may do it again for ourselves tomorrow if we're inspired. Yeah, it never stops. There is always something that we can explore in this way that will bring across and make known what was unknown before.
Yeah. And so that known to making known what was unknown before is really a transformative state, and that we stand in a transformed state every time we do that process. And that's what we're all standing in now. We're standing in that transformed state, holding that new energy, knowing that we can rewrite our knowing time after time after time.
Oh, I've got the outbound spirals appearing. The opening. Mm. I'm just going to pop the fan on again.
I'm coming to the end of the paint in my palette. I'm wanting to add all the different colors in places, right? Similar to how Noni was mixing up the mother color, but I want to add it into the bits of the canvas. And they're not even making specific shapes or anything. It's just like the bits of color want to come out. Like, there's more to say.
Isn't that so funny? Because I'm usually like layer upon layer upon layer, get it all layered until it's like really done. Today I'm like, oh no, I'm holding back because I'm liking the light coming through.
Yeah. It's interesting how you've mentioned now several times about things you wouldn't normally do with your painting.
Yeah.
Today's like the day that it wants to be something you haven't done for a long time, or you don't usually do.
Certainly don't usually do anything like this. This is all new. So well, I shouldn't say new, should I? I should say this is unknown.
Yeah, it's becoming known.
Yes.
We're watching you make that known.
Yeah. So I'm just going to play away, Noni, until you try and ready for our next installment.
I must say, they are looking great on camera. The pinks and the blues from the distance.
It's interesting because our places are so different, Chantel, but there is, like, when you stand back and look on camera, there's
some kind of similarity going on, right? With maybe the color choices or something.
Yeah.
It's almost meditative watching you, Chantel.
These small, like, I'm still in the drumming movements.
Yeah.
And actually, funnily enough, I don't normally paint like this either. This is Bianca was describing what she doesn't normally do. I wouldn't normally paint so many layers and keep on going with the top. But today it just wants to come through. Yes, it feels, the canvas feels very talkative. It's very chatty.
Well, you're definitely shifting into that listening phase. You know, you're moving into there naturally, and perhaps a good time now, if we're ready to go there, is we just drop into bringing some awareness through around. We were going to just talk about the heart at this point, and we thought it was just some knowledge that we wanted to share today around what we already know in our soul and how that knowing comes through from not just the senses, not just our brain, but also in science, our heart, because our heart is the largest electromagnetic generator in our body. Yeah, it creates a field that goes out, over what, it's definitely over 15 to 20 feet if we talk imperial, and definitely over 4.5 meters if we talk metric. And it is a center of knowing. So just imagine when you instinctually react to a situation, and like later on you sort of looking back like, oh, how did I know just to react in that moment so instinctually? You know, I didn't see it coming. I didn't hear it. My brain didn't know it, and yet I did know it. And so bringing awareness to our hearts and the role that they play in a living life, just knowing what I've told you now, if you hadn't heard it before, has altered your field. That connection between knowing is connected to our awareness. So in a lot of our shares today, there may be some little bits of, oh, haven't thought of it that way before, and that's taking it into your mind. Now we're asking you just to drop into that greater field of awareness and knowing. And if you say are really curious around this, like I did mention, this is in science, you could go to HeartMath Institute. The HeartMath Institute have got a growing and amazing body of research, and you can see pictures of the field and its shape, that torus field. Now, torus field is common amongst, so like the Earth even has a torus field, the energy field. It's fascinating, this geometry, which it's like a wire frame if someone was going to draw it, but it's really something that you can feel. And the more aware you are and practice that awareness, the more you will be open to that instinct, and that language will come through and become more familiar. And you could paint with that intention. Yeah, you don't have to write it on the canvas, write it, go all through. You could just hold that as you make a few strokes now on this next step. I don't want to call it a step, but pretty much what we're going to be doing next. It's I would like to deepen my sense of being around the language of the heart and really open that channel of communication. You know, you can call it instinct if you want, you can call it gnosis, whatever you like, but just honoring the heart and being present to its role in how we can live our life and its potential. Is there anything you two would like to talk to and add to that around the heart? Because we're all a bit close to that.
Yeah, very close.
Cold?
So beautiful to bring that in. And whether we have known it before or whether we have known about it, and it's a reminder just to imagine what that means with your heart space and heart intelligence, and that the HeartMath organization is also doing that research of the heart speaking more to the brain than vice versa, and that intelligence coming into our brain. And so that impact of this heart space, and that we can even just having attention on it can help us amplify that field that is present.
Yeah. There's you reminded me, they've got a free share on their website if you go there, and it's known as coherence breathwork, or it's not a long video. It's just an introduction for about potentially 5 minutes to step through into, and there's doctors that are finding benefits for their patients. And so it's making its way globally through our healthcare system, because if you were, say, struggle with anxiety, then you might find that the coherence breathwork has a way of calming and relieving. So it's becoming more and more known about. But honouring the heart and its role is what we were just introducing. But that coherence breathwork is so beneficial, even just to practice it every day before you step up to the canvas, just to get that clarity, where when you breathe in through your heart and up through your heart with intent, that has a different can basically alter and shift your state internally, rather than just being unconscious to your breathing and just letting it happen. And it's got this sort of clearing effect. It's lands you in a sense of more present to the moment. Coherence, that's the definition. Yeah. Are we dry?
Pretty much.
Yeah, close.
Yeah, close.
Not close.
Close one.
Do I need to get a hairdryer? Can. Or just, oh, the heater just turned off. It's just been blowing. I should have just sat it down there. Didn't even think.
We're all three of us painting in very different environments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, we're very good sample to have for those, you know. You want dry cold, damp hot. We've got it covered.
Yeah.
And in saying that, it's just started to rain again. Well, I believe we could shift into that. I can on my canvas, because what we're going to be doing now is adding some shapes, some dimension to the canvas, and we might call it color blocking in some places. We might be introducing symbols if we feel called. But initially, we're just going to add some shapes and do some color blocking. And whilst we do this, be present to listening. So just adding color blocks is different to at the canvas when you're being more focused on creating lines. We're just going to be doing actions that don't require a certain part of our don't activate a certain part of us. We're just able to relax into moving across the canvas, as Chantel was demonstrating before, actually, where we're doing some color blocking and adding some shapes and consciously listening. What are you listening to? What are you listening for? Well, we might all get something different, but where we're at in this stage is just seeing what messages are there to come through. I don't know what they will be because I haven't started. So pick a colour. You can come back and get another colour if you like. Pick a colour and I will demonstrate colour blocking. Oddly enough, I've got something, it's a really rich blue, and I'm using out of the tube, so it's not so, it's got a bit of it's not so runny or watery. Yeah, it's a bit thicker, so that may help me with what I've got going on here with the wetness. And I'm also going to use a dry brush to reduce the amount of water on my canvas. And the size of the brush, like when I start, I'm going to use, I'm drawn for this, I love this brush, use this one, which is not too big, not too small. It's a scrubby brush, $2.
Yeah.
Maybe $1.50, I don't know. And so we're just looking at shapes. Yeah, we're not looking at creating a shape that is in a human form. We're more so looking at what's here now and creating shapes in, around. You might even find that where you've got some drips or some lines, like here, can you see on my canvas? Potentially, I might just come in a little closer. Yep, here. Like I might want to just, in here, just bring in a shape. It means nothing. I'm playing and I'm creating a shape in that space. Now, see how I have left a section there. I haven't gone right up to the line. That's what we call preserving the glow. So leaving a little bit of what's underneath still showing through. In some parts, it might be very close together and there may be a lot happening. And it's almost like you're coding, yeah? You're just coming in and creating shapes where you feel like you would like to add them. And you can move through your whole canvas. You can just do sections with one color. You could grab another color. I'm going to continue with this color. And ready, Mr. Music. Or we can just enjoy our
have
silence.
some music for a bit while we're doing this.
We could do. It's just,
nice.
We're just listening, yeah? So we're not getting tied up on design at all. We're just dropping in and enjoying and listening to see if there's any messages that want to come through this portal to us. It may be around prosperity if that's where your intention is, and creating a pathway to, or of more of a community aspect and an offering from within your part of that community, however you've presented it to yourself. Or it could be something completely new. You know, that intention we set at the start is to be held liminally. You know, if you want to change your intention at some point through, like you get to this stage and there's something like a new message really strong coming through, allow yourself.
Yeah, and I love that reminder, because I often forget my intention once I've been painting for a bit. Like I'd have to actively remind myself of my initial intention usually. So it's a good way to just consider, well, what is my intention right now? What's my intention arising right now? And even if there are no particular messages coming through and you're wondering like, well, what do I do with this part? It's, as Noni said, it's just listening in, like, where does your canvas direct you, right? Is there a part of your canvas that calls you, oh, like this is the part I want to go to right now, and I just want to get some color in there.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be as simple as that.
I might just put a completely new shape on just to demonstrate that. So I might look here and just go, oh, that's just a big smudge, right? It's all just blurred into each other. So I might want to add something completely new that is in no way being guided from the shapes below it. And yeah, it just don't be afraid to add new shapes.
Yeah, sure. All right, I'm going to put on some music.
Really just slightly turn that down.
Turning down?
Slightly, yeah, just background noise.
Oh, we got it. How about here? Lower?
Yeah, a little lower. Only because it's coming through so loudly here.
How do we like that? Is that feeling right? About the right volume?
Yeah, because the volume didn't change. Yeah.
It's just very present.
How about now?
Okay, it's not changing. All right, we can just go with it.
It's not changing.
Makes me want to be like a mad painter.
Oh, I don't know. Give me a moment. How about now?
It's kind of fun. Now that I'm
It's
going.
not changing.
No.
Wow, tricky. All right, well, just yell at me and make giant movements if you want it off.
actually making me very free at my canvas. That would be really good. I'd gotten quite staid stuck, and this was making me very expressive.
All right. How are you both going?
I could just do this all day, but I'm
I
ready
know,
to.
right?
I'm just ready to like. I've run out of paint. I'm just enjoying.
Just playing.
Oh, I'm playing. I love to hear from be able to hear from everyone
Yeah, where we're at.
now
That
and
would be
in the
nice.
future, how they experience that. It's very different with the music.
Yeah, I thought that last track, which is quite long, was quite Cosmic Source on theme, right? That was on point. I was like, yes, this is a sound of Cosmic Source.
Oh, I love those plays with the light coming through on yours, Chantel.
Yeah, they're interesting. They've reminded me, if I relate it to something physical that I know, it reminds me of when you build the towers of stones or pebbles on the beach, like little stupas, little Buddhist stupas. It reminds me of that. And actually, just a few moments ago, words that came through very strongly for me was, there is so much to discover. That was it. That was a statement. There is so much to discover. So I feel like there's a whole landscape in here of discovery, and that I could spend time contemplating this and, write messages and stories and pathways.
Beautiful. We'll break soon so that we can note and write these things down and see if anything even more comes, because often when we just allow the pen to move, something more.
Yeah.
Did you have a share, Bianca? I certainly had something come through too.
My process is a bit more interesting. It's just like there's things that I see that I go, oh, and then I feel that I'm like, oh, I really don't like that. And then some things I'm like, oh, I really like that. And they're like, oh, look at how you were judging that when you were looking at it from that perspective. And now it's shifted. So that's, yeah, very harsh judgments of a particular. Do you really want me to tell you what really freaked me out?
If you want to, it's welcome.
There was this coming through here, and I went, oh my God, it looks like Cthulhu. Which, if you don't know what that is probably a good thing. Okay. Anyway, that sent me on a little bit of a trip. I'm like, oh yeah, great. Soul essence is Cthulhu. Nah. And then it's very much, it changed. And now there is this, I'm like, oh, that's just set my mind on this whole trip of contemplation. That some people listening might likely know that and understand why it freaked me out. But and also then it's like, oh, is there this whole race of beings that this weird freaky brain came from? And that's just one that anyway. And it's like, there's this idea that energies of a particular ilk may have been tarred by one particular person or being, one particular aspect, and then we see everything of that type in that same particular vein, even though it's got nothing to do with it, and how we can cut ourselves off or censor ourselves because of those judgments that may be completely incorrect.
Do you want longer on this step?
No, I think I'm good.
Well, the journaling might help as well, actually. Maybe journaling.
Yeah.
Just set my whole mind. I'm like, oh, really? It's actually very exciting because there's a whole lot of, let's just say sticky note for discussion for another time. We'll just go insert long divergent rant, which will lead us to somewhere that I don't want to go right now. But in a very positive way. It's like, it's given me this amazing positive insight into something that I could see no positives to. I'm usually a person that's very, very, very good at seeing both sides of the coin, but I tell you what, this thing that had been presented to me, it's been causing me quite a great deal of consternation, and I could see no positive to it. So this is very exciting.
We will wait for bated breath for our artist interview that will take place in the future.
Yes.
To be continued.
Yeah. All right.
So how about for you?
I've got my noggin in the way. I keep doing that because I've got such a small workspace. So that's my Laurel and Hardy moment for those that, or Jerry Lewis, or, one of those sort of very visual comedy people,
yeah.
That, but the glare here is so.
Oh, we can see that.
I've just been wonderfully moving through the whole canvas, and at one stage I mixed it up. I just thought, I'm just going to turn this with a different, see if anything more comes through. But really the main message is that I'm already on the path, and that may sound dull, but it is this wonderful sense of just effortless, just good, yeah, confirmation, no, yeah, and it was that painting across the lines, creating the newer shapes, seeing perhaps where lines might be, and just painting within them the very subtle, lines that are sort of all blended together, that where that came through, that you're already on the path, and even what you're doing right now is a part of that illumination.
Yeah.
And that this process is calling for those that we will weave with, that we will create with, co-create with in the future, and that will just further amplify. And then we could all, do stunts together on camera. Well, I guess essentially, just create more joy and beauty, and that this feels very aligned for me. So, yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Much gratitude for the two
ease. We like ease. Yeah. Feel that.
So this step, we could literally, you could just keep going. You can put us on pause if you're coming along later, and you take as long as you like. Yeah, we're going to have a break here because it's a good place to do so. Whether we have something lengthy to say in our journal, we'll invite you to do the same and just write down what has come through, because it is a really good practice to get into when you're painting in this way with intention, to also journal and nurture yourself with whatever it is that you feel that you need.
Yeah. Tea break, coffee break, something else, whatever you fancy.
It's supper time.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to be doing that, and I'm going to be hitting my journal as well. And if you are not fond of writing, record it. Just use an audio recorder on your phone or whatever, and record, just if it's easier for you to speak rather than write.
All righty. So 10 minutes. See you
Yeah,
back.
should take 10 minutes here.
Yeah. And here's a tip. If any of you get to this point where you have paint all over your hands, the baby wipes, they take the paint off the hands so easily, quite readily. So I'm just, at the moment, it's just rubbing off easily. If you don't want to leave acrylic on your hands, and perhaps you're in a place where you're not close to a sink, it's always handy.
It is indeed.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go. Handy painting tip number 17 for today? Something like that.
Even got it up my arm. That's pretty spectacular.
Yeah, I did a pretty good job of getting my hands pretty messy today. Usually they stay pretty clean these days, but pretty good covering there.
I feel like they're a work of art in themselves, Bianca. You maybe get some photos of those.
They are quite pretty with the
they're pretty, and they go nicely with your painting, all the same colours.
Yes, like that turquoise, gold, and magenta. That might have to be my new thing. Could quite take to that.
Maybe this is you engaging with your painting further too, right?
Yes,
embodying like onto your body.
Embodying the bling.
You're embodying. Yeah.
Yes.
Love it.
Well, mine literally knocked me on the head, so I'm not sure.
Giving you a little wake-up call. Is it?
Yeah.
It's called twice.
Your one definitely had something to say just then.
Yeah.
Oi.
Yeah.
I may have to put a cover over this work in progress that's like staring at me from the corner. I might.
She's now looking around. It's like she's looking around going, hey.
I know.
What about me?
Reverse.
We are getting influenced, aren't we? I just realised. Yeah, it's blending on camera. To me, there's
Yeah.
Oh yes, yours is.
But I can't see that whilst I'm painting.
Extension.
Like I can, yeah.
I have my soulfire painting just like looking over me. He's looking quite stern as well.
Well, I contemplated putting something else there, but I'm like, but if I get paint splattered all over something that's finished, I'm going to be upset. So that one can just sit there whilst it's not finished, and I won't be so upset if it gets covered in splatter. Yes. All righty.
fabulous.
I'm going to go get a cup of tea. We'll be back in a
Cafe
few
break.
Okay.
See you in 10.
See you.
then.
Hello.
Hello, hello. I always notice how interesting it is when you move away from your painting, even for a few minutes like this. Like I totally left the room and I went to get a cup of tea and now I'm coming back and seeing it, and it's a whole new experience.
Mm.
Yeah.
I find it really interesting looking at the painting and then looking at the painting on the screen and how different they look.
Mm. Yeah, I hear that.
Yes, the process really honors self-expression in its like we're sharing at the same time. We're so unique.
Mm.
And this is a reflection of just how unique we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And also interesting to think about it capturing from the time we started this painting, right? Like capturing our experience of who we are during that time.
Yeah. I've still got parts of the old showing through from the underpainting that she's upside down. She's still coming through. The layer upon layer. It's nice.
I love it.
Informing the shapes.
So, well, I hope everyone had a chance to have a nice break and maybe even do some journaling and get some messages onto paper. And we're now going to go into what I find a very fascinating, sometimes something that makes me slightly nervous to do, this part of the process where we're inviting an encounter. And the encounter is to do with bringing a form, such as a face, onto the canvas and actually giving time and energy to bringing this face out. Now, Bianca, it's great because Bianca's actually had a face come out really early on, right? And some of you may have as well. You may already have a face. You may even have a whole form. We don't know which direction it's gone for you. So at the moment, I don't have a face at all. So I'm going to demonstrate bringing a face out on this canvas. And as Bianca had mentioned earlier, that when we have a face on there, it can support us in having a closer conversation and engagement with this experience and with what is happening and what we're discovering. And so there's several ways to do a face, but the one that I want to demonstrate is a very free-flowing form. Sometimes if you're new to painting and if you've never painted a face before, it can sound like a hard ask of, oh, what? I gotta draw a face. That's fine with this color blocking and this glazing. And okay, a face? Are you kidding me? I know I felt that way the first time I painted a face. So the reason I like doing it this way is because we're using like a kind of fluid motion, and similar to what we've already been doing, the approach we've been using, we're inviting you to just not get too attached to the lines that come out and just to have a go at bringing some shapes out. So I'm going to choose a color that hopefully you can see. I think I'll go for like a yellow ochre to bring that out on here. And I've got some bright yellow as well, so I might mix the two colors together to bring it out. So hopefully you'll be able to see it. And what I'm going to be inviting you to do, the way I'm going to do it is, I haven't got paint on my brush yet, but I'm just going to show you a motion so you get an idea of what this means. Is I'm going to be making a movement like a face shape, and without actually lifting my paintbrush off the canvas, I'm going to go for this type of effect. So I'm going to like be drawing a face shape, be including some eyes, including the line of a nose, and including some lips, right? So that's how I'm going to present a face. Now, There's also, you may want to check where does a face want to come through. So I'm going to paint a face straight on. So I'm going to have, you know, everything facing face on, but you can also paint a side profile, or you might even want to paint half a face, or you might have more than one face. However you want to do it. I'm going to do one face on it, and mine's, I'm just checking with my canvas of where it wants to come out, and it actually does want to come out into this area. It's quite central, and it wants to come out forth from here, what's already been layered up here. That's what's feeling right for me. So that's where I'm going to paint mine. You don't have to do it in the center. You could choose wherever feels right for you on your canvas to paint your face. So what I'm going to do is, I'm not using a lot of water, and I'm not spraying my canvas first. And this is pretty much dry. So it's slightly tacky, some of the paint, but that's okay. It's dry enough for me to do this on. And with the bringing out the face, this first outline, we're going to be able to go over that, and we're going to be able to refine from here. So don't get too caught up in like, oh, my face shape is going like this or that way, or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter at this stage, because we can change it quite a lot. But what we want to do is, again, like we have been doing so far, just bringing ourselves present to this action of painting the face and bringing this face to life on the canvas. So I'm using a flat brush here, and I'm going to just dip it in water so that it's a little bit damp, but it's not carrying a lot of water. I'm going to get some ochre on the end of my brush, and I'm going to bring in some of that bright yellow as well. So I've got kind of a two-tone. You can see the color that I'm using there. And then I'm checking out my canvas. I've run out of paint, so I'm picking up paint again, but I'm carrying on my line where it was. I've got the formings of the mouth here. I've got the two kind of bumps on the lower lip of the mouth there. And I want to extend this line out as well and bring a face shape. So it can be as simple as that. Simply did a line around and created an oval or upside down egg shape. But I carried on my line because I didn't want to get caught up in like, oh, the eyes go at this dimension and the nose finishes here. I'm not doing it this way today. I want to be free in my motion and just go whoop, 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 and just bring the lines out. So now I've got, because I only used kind of minimal paint as I did it, so I've got the outline there, but now I can go over it. And now where I want the eyes halfway down my egg shape. And I'm going to switch to a smaller brush soon, but I'm using a bigger one for demonstration purposes so you can see what I'm doing. But what I've painted here is two outlines that look more eye-like, and I've done it about halfway down my egg shape. And then what I'm going to bring in is, so I'm now going to adjust this nose a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm wetting a little bit of paper towel, and I'm actually going to scrub out a little bit of the nose. And the reason why is I want to show you that I'm going to bring in the brow line and this line of the nose here. So I'm just going to start with one side doing that. So I'm going to bring it from this side. And so just like that, I've created a brow for that side of the eye and brought the line of the nose down as well. And so now, so between the eyes and this chin part here, which isn't very pronounced at the moment, so I'm going to add some more paint there, but now you can see my chin part there. So between where kind of the end of the nose will go to the chin part, about halfway through, I'm going to have the line for the mouth. This is going to be, mine's going to be closed mouth, because that's how I know how to paint mouths. I haven't reached a level of painting mouths with a mouth open showing teeth. And again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm using a bit of a bigger brush at the moment just so you can see it, but you can also use a smaller brush. And I'm just making two kind of wide dots there, and that's just to symbolize the nostrils, right? And then what I want to do is add a second brow, because I had that first brow line that brought in the brow with the nose. And I'm bringing in a second brow over the other eye. And now I also just want to symbolize that there are ears for my face. So I'm just going to do a streak of a line from the eye, the point of the eye, down to the corner of the mouth. And I'm going to do that on the other side as well. And I'm going to add in a neck. So there's a neck shape happening in line from the face. I'm going to add like the startings of the shoulders as well. Of course, you might just want your face and you might not want to add a neck and shoulders. It's whatever feels right for you. What do you feel called to add in there? So in that way, I've got neck and shoulders. And with the hair, different ways to do hair. You can leave it without hair. You can add lines to symbolize hair. So for example, if you wanted to, I wanted to give my ones taking on some long-haired characteristics. And so I can take a wavy line on both sides and create the outline of hair that I fill in more later, or you can leave it without hair. And the other thing is you might feel called to add your own more abstract symbolic style designs around the head of whatever calls to you, and based on what you believe and what is true for you, you might have particular symbols. So for example, with mine, I'm feeling like I'm really drawn to drawing something at the top of the head here. And for me, it's very kind of a plant-like stem. It's this wavy line going up, and it's to represent kind of like a tree stem or a root system, something like that. I just feel called, I'm so drawn to nature and plants and the life of trees and things like that, that just comes into a lot of my paintings at the moment. So I want this kind of tree-like growth out of its head. And that feels right for me. And you can see it's wonderful because we've got three very different examples here. You see what Noni's doing. I'm loving it.
I'm not sure what I'm doing.
I love it.
I keep standing back like, what am I doing?
And I love the scalloping above the face as well. You can just see how Noni's been quite free with the eye shape and everything. So again, we're just moving without focusing on, oh, it should look like this or it should look like that. It's what's coming out, what's representative. And yours might be entirely symbolic, and that's also great. Bianca's got like a kind of a traditional face structure as well. And look at the sizing, right? Like you've taken up, your face really needs to be big on this canvas.
Yeah.
Yes, there's lots of space.
The
eyes, like the eyes are just, but I always feel, now I feel also drawn to the mouth.
Yes.
I feel like it's got a lot to say, this face.
Yes. It's like,
yeah. And so we can play a little bit further here with the face. And now when you've got an outline, there's a couple of different things you can do. You can also start doing a little bit of color blocking if you like. Again, I'll just demonstrate here how Noni showed earlier, leaving the glow parts, like leaving some space between the outline and the space that you're painting. I quite like the colors and shapes that are in the face already, but I'm just going to, I feel called to just add a little bit of color inside. And of course, it doesn't have to be the same color that you did your outline with. I'm going to add another color shortly to this, but I just wanted to bring in some of that same color to just give the face a bit more of a solid look. I also want to add a representative line down the other, representing the other side of the nose as well. So I just want to represent that, to just add some yellow up here. And so in this way, you can also start, and again, leaving that glow, leaving that space between the outline and where you're adding paint. And listen in to the face. What does a face ask of you? What colors are calling? What wants to be added? I'm feeling like this part here that I've got here is quite prominent, this kind of stupa shape in the gray and white. Right now, I don't want to go over the top of it. I feel like that wants to stay for a bit. It might get covered up later, and that's okay. Right now, I'm just listening into what's here showing up in this image. And for now, that wants to be left as it is. So I'm going to roll with that. And I'm loving bringing in some yellow into my canvas now, because it was quite different colors before, and now these kind of yellowy colors want to come through. And it's also helping me define where the face is, like it's giving it a space. Here, this is where it's going to occupy right now. Yeah, and I say right now because it might change. Completely turn in time, who knows? But for now, the face is here. And the other thing that I want to do is I'm going to change to a smaller brush. And as this is drying, I want to start adding some more definition. You can see Bianca starting to do it with adding the eyeballs and the two lips. You can see the shape of it. You can see more of the nostril outline. So I want to switch to a small brush now so I can start doing that. Yeah, how are you going?
Bringing in those, always revisiting those sensory openings, those gateways from our inner and outer world. And in some ways, they can be seen as a filter, and in moments that they introduce bias as well. You know, that you link a certain sensory organ, a smell, a sound, a touch with something that has happened before, and it plays a bias on our state, and it can alter us. And so it just, they play such a small role in who we are. And I find that when we get to paint at this stage, when all that is dropped and we're just being more who we are, and just being present to what we're doing, that these sort of moments almost, it's like, yeah, that's just manufactured. It's not real. It's just made up,
Yeah.
Just being more true right now.
And that makes me think of, that makes me think of the notion of remembering.
Yeah. So I could get really, really tied up right now. It's like, I've never painted anything like this before. And there's this sense of not knowing where I'm going to go next. Very in that state of a lot of change happening. But I'm okay with that. And but there is this sort of awareness that it's like, that's not very me in terms of what I would normally do. But this is the beauty and the magic. So
absolutely.
Just go, okay, well, I hear a little bit of a critic coming forward here. But I see you, critic. However, I'm going to continue down this path and almost shift it to that voice of discernment, where I can recognize the difference between my critic and my discerning voice, and I'm going to lean towards, you know, come on, Muse, come back and play. The critic's just, you know, having a bit of a go here because my face isn't normal. But hey, that's the when we're doing this at pace, we can bring through that Picasso element. Yeah, it's playtime, and at the end of the day, like I've done before, it's a canvas. We can paint over it whenever we feel like, right? It's paint. We just keep going. So we're playing now, yeah? We're bringing features?
Yep, bring features forward so you can define the eye shape more, for example, if you want to, the lips, the nose, and, you know, and as Noni so beautifully alluded to, all those sensory openings, you know, you can make sure that there is ears, if you want to just bring in that recognition of hearing, and yeah, all those parts that are important to you right now for your journey. What's calling to you to bring forward and define, and absolutely play with it. You know, if you don't want to have it as a traditional face type shape and you want things growing out of it or whatever it is for you, then, you know, go ahead and bring that out. Actually, I might bring my canvas closer, because what I'm going to do is paint in some eyeballs. I do love painting the eyes. And for the eyeballs, I'm doing them so that there's a little bit of a gap between the lower line of the eye. You can see that in Bianca's as well. And it's nice and clear in Bianca's because they're so huge, which is fabulous. Just love it. And so I'm doing the same for the other side. And sometimes I always feel like one eye feels like a bit more awkward to create than the others, you know. One always feels like easy to create, and one sometimes feels awkward for me. And I'm just going to fill them in a bit. That's not necessarily the final color. I'm getting great. And it's not necessarily that they're going to remain blue-eyed, but I just wanted to start coloring to give it that definition. And as you can see now from before, right, there's two eye shapes, and now just to put the eyeballs in there, there is a face, there is some looking happening, there's some visioning happening. And same, I'm going to just go over the shape of the nose. Doing the nose is a couple of different ways. You can have, you know, like this kind of like painting corners of the nose, like this part of the nostrils here. I mean, you can totally use a mirror as well if you want, just to look at your own features. If you want to use it as a reference point. And usually there's this third like kind of bump in the middle there as well. And I've got two lines here showing the shape of the nose. I have this brow line connected up, and I don't always connect up the second one, which is just kind of a style feature that I like, but you could by all means connect that line up if you wanted to, so you could have both the brow and the nose line connected. And then with the lips, again, with the shape of the lips, so there's this, starting with this V of the center of the top lip can be a good way to get started, getting a V in there and then drawing a line out to the side, out to the side. I like to turn up the corners slightly usually, because I often like a kind of slightly smiling expression. And today, this one, it's very slightly smiling today. I feel like it's less smiley than my other ones, but that's okay. That's what wants to happen. And then for the bottom lip, the lower lip, I'm doing it in one line, and I'm including the two bumps there. And then that creates that kind of lip shape similar to what we traditionally have. That's the kind of shape I wanted to go for, a more traditional kind of face shape today. And then I've got a line through the center to show that separation. And I want to bring in a little bit, I also want to bring this dark blue onto the ears, because I want the ears I sometimes overlook, and today they seem really important that I also acknowledge listening and hearing
Yes, you've mentioned ears 3 times now.
Right. And usually I'm like, do I want ears? Ears will spoil it. I'll make them too big and I'll ruin it. And so today I'm like, no, ears must be there.
Interesting.
I noticed when I was drawing my ears on, I was like, well, her head's kind of slightly turned so that one ear will be smaller. You'll only see a dab of a lobe or you know, the prominence on the side here, or something just. And then I was just like, just draw an ear.
Right? Yes.
Perfectionism be gone.
Yes.
As I draw on green eyelashes that are almost fluoro.
Yeah, and you can add, shall I bring that closer again? You can add another line above the top outline of the eye if you want to just show that kind of eyelid structure. You can use a super fine brush to do it. I haven't got a super fine brush I'm not using a super fine brush right now to do it. You see, I'm just kind of thickening that line above because I want to show that an effect of an eyelid. And the other thing that I didn't mention earlier, if you wanted to, you don't have to have yours open dyed. If you wanted to simply paint these 2 lines, these 2 crescent moon shaped, half moon shaped lines, you don't have to open the eyes if you don't want to. And if you've opened your eyes and you're like, no, they want to sleep, you can use a wet cloth, and while the paint's still tacky, you can wipe it off, or you can paint over once that's dry to show that it's closed-eyed. And sometimes they want their eyes open and sometimes they don't.
And sometimes we want our eyeballs on the outside of our eye socket.
Sure. You know, it's all types. All welcome. Also all welcome beyond belief.
Let's go.
I'm going to add some lower lashes as well. With the eyelashes, what I do is I just kind of pull out the paint that's there to create the lash effect. But you could by all means then go over it later if you really want the lashes to be defined. You could go over another color and bring them out some more. Again, you could use a really fine brush to bring that in. And now I'm just going to take a moment with mine to just listen in as to what she wants next. Interesting. Then she wants some black paint for some more definition around the eyes.
Yeah, so should we go into, I was thinking that too, because I'm like, my darks are calling. Should we move into
yes,
some deepening?
Look at that segue. Gosh, so good.
So as our paintings are calling for a little bit of darks, you can see that I've started to apply some darker colors, and you can choose any color that's already there, or you can mix your own dark. Really nice way to mix a dark is to choose 2 almost complementary colors, or as I was saying before, my favorite 2. I love a dark out of like a phthalo turquoise, or this, it's called Southern Ocean Blue in the Australian paints here, and a quinacridone magenta. It makes a beautiful dark purpley sort of
beautiful
color. If you want a bit more earthy, you can add in some brown or something to that. But it just gives a really rich dark that's not quite black, but will come up as black. And we're just going to find our way into the deeper, more receptive spots in our painting. And as Noni was saying before, those receptive spots, our pupils and our nostrils and our ear holes and inside our mouth, we can just start to apply some deepening there. And as you're working your way through your deepening, you can use a brush that doesn't have much paint to start to work into the shadows and work into the areas where the light falls less. And as you're doing this, you can contemplate the parts of you that have been left in the shadows, the parts of you that are happy in the shadows, and the parts of you that might like to step out of the shadows. What parts of you are you leaving in the shadows that really want to come forward? So we're working on all the bits that are a bit further back. So we're looking at under the chin and down the neck. We can go under the bottom lip, a little bit under the nose, all those areas where the shadows might naturally fall. And with a really dry brush, you can just scrub in those areas. And that really starts to give some definition and bring out your features. And often really quickly you start to see your being transforming and come to life before your eyes.
Having this really interesting experience that so I'm painting with Payne's Grey, which is, you know, a very, very deep colour shade, often used for adding shadow. Yeah.
I love Payne's Grey. Who would know?
However, as I paint, because it's very humid here this afternoon after it rained before, it's blending with the white, and it's becoming light. And it's like, okay, I'm trying to add shadow here and contemplate my shadows. They're being alchemically shifted on the canvas.
Yeah, interesting. Well, I'm usually a fan of Payne's Grey and deep dark shadow, and today I'm like, oh no, not too much shadow, Bianca. I'm literally stepping out of the shadows. So that's very interesting. Don't know that I've ever stopped myself so early on in a shadow creating and go, that's enough. But having said that, we shouldn't be afraid to put shadow or have shadow on our work at all, because it really helps to give it depth, give it life, and to bring it out. So much better to work your way through the shadows before you decide to not have them. So with this process, sorry, were you going to say something?
I was just we can attach meaning to shadow, and you know, the more spiritual folk is sort of, you know, just shadow can have many meanings, but in painting, you know, the darks and the lights, if you paint on the darks, well, then the lights pop forward, you know, and within that, developing a relationship with shadow that is okay, and that it is a natural part of life, and it can be transformed in many ways, and we can witness that even with paint symbolically. I guess being aware that we don't move it into some sort of taboo topic, almost like that it's let's grab a hold of this like we would bulls
horns or whatnot. No, wrestle it. Let's go there. Yeah. So as you're talking about wrestling and going with those shadows, Noni, we can talk about how you can start to work into the spots on our canvas where there are darker bits, and start to work into those shadows where you might start to put marks or codings or symbols into those little spaces, so that we can start to become aware that there is a depth and a richness in these shadow places, and that they are simply the other side of the moon. They're not, that we need all parts of the cycle to be whole, and to recognize what richness lies there. As you can see with my other painting here off to the side, I have not been afraid of exploring the depths of, and the riches to be found in the depths there. Something that can be really helpful in this part of the process, but I think that I think most of us today can't quite do that, is to be able to get really far away, like at least 6 foot away from your painting, and even to like squint your eyes right down till they don't perceive colour anymore, almost, so that you're almost getting a black and white vision, and then you can really see the interplay between the light and the shadow in your picture really well, particularly if you're getting distracted by the colour. So sometimes we can't tell whether something's light and bright or dark and bright. That can be quite tricky. But if we step back and squint our eyes right down, you can really see the tonal value and where you might want to be working. But actually looking on the screen is really quite helpful when we can't get the distance. Just turn around and look at the screen.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm getting a whole new perspective from turning to the screen. Because right now I can't back up that far. But I mean, it's such a great thing to do if you can, to get some space, and distance from what's showing up, what you want to call forth and light up what is receding as shadow spaces. Okay, just going to bring up our timing. So we've been at our paint party for 3.5 hours.
Well, we could
do the next bit in a half hour. If we, I can move into symbology now, and that crosses into light. So I can.
I know my selective glaze was. I went, oh, hang on, what's that? What's that doing? Get back! Get off there!
We're definitely moving into playtime. It's there's a contemplation you can do here whilst in this deepening shadow contemplation, and add a symbol there that acknowledges what it is that has come to you, that you have worked through, transformed, or even that you just want to honor. And from there, you could also look to adding symbology that is transitional and bringing you into that state of what I brought light to, what I have, in a way, become aware of. And so it is in that you may want to introduce another color in this and just add a symbol there in acknowledgement. There's much that can come here, we were talking prior to this, and we were talking about scarcity and its relationship to prosperity, and that perhaps we are conditioned through the economic side of things, just the external environment, our family, however it is that we've formed our beliefs around prosperity. And you may just relate that to money. Someone may relate prosperity more holistically to all their relationships and all their resources. So whatever your relationship is with prosperity, if you become present to that whilst you're doing this and start to contemplate within prosperity around scarcity, for example, are you limiting yourself potentially because you believe scarcity means there's not enough for you? Or it may be around self-worth, and that you're not where you need to be before you can be prosperous. You've just got to jump through all these hurdles before you will allow yourself to be prosperous, and that there may be never because you've just set all these hurdles. So depending on your relationship, if we looked into scarcity, what if scarcity is manufactured? What if our belief system, if we just put that aside and we realize that if scarcity is manufactured, well then so can abundance be, and open up pathways to prosperity, allowing abundance to happen, and just shift your belief systems around scarcity. Because everywhere we look in our current landscape externally, if that's all manufactured scarcity, it's a huge thing to contemplate, and it's a huge thing to just, it can become almost overwhelming when one chooses to accept that. And when you choose to accept that, it's a bit like the heart field, just becoming aware, accepting and open to it changes your field in your relationship to prosperity. Just thought. So wherever you're at, I invite you to place a symbol or two on here in your relationship to prosperity now as you come through this process. In whatever colour, in whatever place, dark, light.
And it doesn't have to be a particular form. Like for me right now, it's kind of become kind of shady, kind of shapes that is kind of adding into my light and dark shading, but that's how I'm feeling that symbology coming through of my relationship with prosperity. And I'm playing with the idea of, well, what happens when I paint out a symbol of my desired relationship with prosperity? What happens if I paint it out and I can see it in front of my eyes? What does that mean for me?
Mm-hmm. Oh, she's a wild one, this one. And so now, if you have a symbol, look to bringing in the lights. So depending on what style you've got on the canvas, you want to look to where light might naturally hit potentially. So you can just look at yourself in the mirror or look at one of us on camera, and you can see that light hits the temple, all the places that are more forward there rather than sunk back. And in doing that, you'll come with like on the chin. You might even have a touch over the eyebrow, on the brow itself here. If you've got shoulders, it'd be here. And light will naturally hit in different places as you get down here on the neck, just where the bones are, and anything that's forward. So we're talking about now just adding lights. If you've got something more pro heart like mine, go crazy. Put your lights wherever you like. And one thing you'll notice with the face structure, that wherever you've got the middle of your lip, under your nose, tends to be, no matter what style, that if you align here, the face can be any shape, yeah? And we're naturally not, like, our faces aren't symmetrical. We all have lumps and bumps and, shifts, and we notice our own differences from our left and our right. So, yeah, it's more interesting, right? Crazy face. Well, I'm embracing it right now. Have you ever seen how freaky it is to do like a picture where you reproduce the other side of your face and see what you look like if you had two sayings? Oh, no. Oh, it's so creepy. It's and how different, like if you do two lefts or two rights, just how different they are. It's amazing. When you're if you're adding any block colors like I am now, just it may be new to you, but consider just leaving that glow, that edge. We don't take it right up to the line, which can be cartoony almost, and just having that little glow left adds some movement. It just adds that motion. So there's a trick we tend to honor and maintain in our paintings.
all of these parts now of bringing in the lights and the symbols and things like that, it's a great opportunity for thinking about making choices, right? Decision making, and what you're deciding needs to be brought forward, what needs to recede, what the symbology is. You might even want to carry on with the symbols, and you might just feel like playing in that way to bring in more of that. And you can spend as long as you like doing this part as well. So if you're watching later, feel free to pause and take your time with it. And you may then also start changing between bringing in some light here and then go, oh, I'm going to add some shadow here, and oh, I want to bring some more symbology and some encodings and representation just of my own style, my own design, whatever comes up, whatever marks I want to make. And to take as long as you want to fill up the canvas as much as you want, wherever you want, with all these choices that you can now make, and consider what's coming through. When you listen deeply to yourself, what is the ask? What is the inspiration? Now we have some other lovely things as part of this process, and I just want to check in what we want to move on to next.
Well, we can. Do we want to glaze? Do we want to do any more illumination, or are we going to go? We can go into my eyes need some light. So I'm just wondering when that's what I'm like.
Bring some life.
Desperately hanging out for some waking up. So I don't know.
Bring them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
We can do that now.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Cool.
I might have to change the brush size. So if you're finding you might want to go down a brush size or two, please do so.
I've got this tiny little fine brush that I used before, and I went, I must remember to put that straight in the water, and I put it in the water upside down.
Oh.
No.
Oh no.
Yeah, I've added the pupils to the eyeballs. She needed pupils, and I just add a little white dot next to each pupil. You can also add a couple of white dots if you want, or you can add a crescent shape.
Yeah.
However you want to bring the eyes to life.
May observe the direction of the light, like I just did mine on the opposite side, but anyway, it's a great cosmic light. The cosmic source is coming from all over. So as we like to say, the light's coming from within, so don't have to worry about too much about where it is.
Yeah.
But it just, that bit of light just brings that presence.
Yes. Yeah, it brings it to life even more. So yeah, absolutely don't get caught up in the design or perspective of it.
No. All right. So how are our paintings in terms of dryness for a glaze now? Do we need to
go ahead? But I won't be glazing. It's just ridiculously wet here.
I need to I would probably need a little quick burst of a hairdryer to glaze mine, but I could.
Yeah, mine's a little bit tacky. I could do a partial glaze.
Partial glaze.
And I could choose.
All right, I'm just going to turn on mute, give mine a bit of a blast, and I will be back shortly.
All right. And so while Bianca does that, just feel free to continue playing and adding. I feel like I need to add some more symbols. In fact, I feel like I've got too much light on mine, quite frankly. And now maybe some more shadow time.
I've got this weird pink and green hair coming forward.
I love it. Yeah, with the lines.
With that. It's just some very, very different things happening here. But, you know, it's leading by example.
Yeah. Yeah. We didn't plan how any of our canvases would turn out.
Oh, heck.
This is simply what happened during this experience.
and that's okay.
That's great, actually. I like that mystery part of it.
Well, I'm very intrigued as to how composed mine looks on the screen, as to here it looks like just a smush of colours. It's like there is so many different layers that feel unresolved when I look here, and I look over there and I go, oh, I can't see any of that. I don't know if I want to blend them anymore. If I bring it close, I'll show you and get it out. Drop it down. I'll show you how, like literally how, like there's not very much, but when it comes back, it's suddenly all like homogenized.
It's very integrated from on the screen.
Yeah. Oh, an illusion.
The illusion. But it's interesting also, isn't it? Because it's your painting and what you see in it.
Yeah, does that mean I can be a hot mess on the inside and I'm going to be like this illusion of integrated self? I can go with that. All right. Not that she's a hot mess, but she's got a lot going on. All right.
Well, it looks very integrated from here.
Yes. I'm just going to have a sip. Okay, so now in order to assist that further integration, if you feel that you need it, and sometimes it can be a bit scary because we can get a bit attached to how things look, but if you are scared about the next step, what you could do is wait until your painting is completely dry, because if your painting is completely dry and you put a glaze on and you don't like it, you can get rid of it. Don't try to get rid of a glaze you don't like unless your painting is completely dry, because otherwise...
A whole other process.
Yes. So at this point, we're probably not going to glaze the whole thing, although we could. But what we could do is choose to selectively glaze an area of our painting. So we could go all the way across the body. We could go have a glaze across the eyes. Spend some time now just speaking to the being in your painting and asking them, whatever that presence is that you're identifying with, what parts might like to be glazed, what parts feel like they need to have a bit of cohesion happening for them. I'm just going to spend just a wee moment because I keep... Okay. All right. That was a quick moment.
For me too, though. I had to ask as well because of, yeah.
Well, I'm torn. I don't know whether I want to integrate the body or integrate around here because this is so busy, but I quite like the light. So I really don't want to put any more layers there because there is a colour in here that is impossible to, there's more up here, but this pink colour here is absolutely impossible to create in any other way than just having thin watered down magenta on white. Tried to do it as a paint many times and it can't, and I really like it, so it's going to stay. So I'm going to do a glaze over my body down here.
And again, with that decision making of for whatever reason that you may want to keep some parts unglazed,
yes,
a glaze may call to you for some parts. Actually, I was feeling like mine had too many lights in it, and so I'm actually wanting to kind of glaze at least half the face, I think, down to the eyes, and maybe even the whole face.
Nice.
Be interesting to notice how it feels to glaze sometimes. Like for me, as I've started glazing, I'm actually feeling relief.
Ah, really? I'm like, oh, I don't know about this. This feels like it's a whole nother process. It makes me go, oh, I want to glaze the face now, and then that'll be mop. But usually, yes, usually I love the relief of a glaze. I'm like, oh yes. I just dropped into a very long moment. Back. I guess because I'm not glazing, I just do my own little weirdness thing here. Okay. We'll just do speed glaze. You doing a selective glaze or a
On with a selective.
Selective?
Just on the top half of the face, really.
And if you end up glazing and you think that it's too much, you can just spray it down with your paper towel. You can just wipe it back to get to the level that you want. There we go. Okay. I did have a beautiful poem I was going to read now, but I'm not sure that we've got time. We might have to leave that for another day.
Another day. There'll be another day. Many more days to come, everyone.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we're going to start wrapping up. But before we do, just also invite you, to continue your process. So at this point where we've glazed, you might want to let the glaze dry, take some time away from the painting, then come back to it. And again, over the top of this, you can add, once my glaze is dry, I'll be adding definitions again and lights and darks around the face area. And I'll probably be adding after that, I might add some more symbology as well over the whole, around different parts of the canvas.
Yeah.
So I'll be continuing to work with it and continuing to listen in as to what's coming out and journaling along the way. So this process goes as long as you would like.
And also we can get finer and finer with our brush. So start, dancing some movement in there. If we were going to demonstrate, grab a smaller brush and grab something that's, yellow or a lighter color that complements your palette there. And where I was using that green, I might mix that with a white and it'll come out sort of almost a fluoro yellow. And then do some markings and some honorings, and they may be, I might, bordering on clown here, but I might find that I want to do that along the bottom of her eye, or and so we're introducing embellishment and honoring with decorative fun. Some people do prayer dots, yeah. So if you're doing, if you're coming at it from more of a healing medicinal standpoint, you can even do healing dots, whatever intention you place in that's relevant to where you're at, and just be present to that meaning, that mindfulness within that act. And things change, things shift.
Sure do.
And when you finish the process for the day or the session, make sure you spend good at least 5-10 minutes, if not half an hour, journaling what you have received from the process, because it might seem really obvious and crystal clear in your mind now, but it will fade like a really good dream if you don't tie it down.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, would everyone like to just share whatever's arising right now, where you're at with your process? It can be brief.
I'm just enjoying the carnival of colours that is so very uncharacteristic. So yeah, that's just a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And
yeah. Sorry. You keep talking out loud. I'll mute myself.
that's all really.
She looks more amused to me now, Bianca, as well. Than earlier, right? Like when you mentioned the Carnival of Fun, she looks like she's really playful now.
Yeah.
Well, I am. I'm going to wait for mine to dry, and I'm going to play with the face a little bit more. But it's interesting, after the glaze, I feel like there's a lot of curiosity is coming out of her face. She's looking and she's inquiring, and there's questions, and so there's a lot of curiosity. So I think while it dries, I'm going to journal about that and see what comes out. And then I'm really looking forward to spending some more time though to bring the face out again, and some more symbology as well. And that's where I'm at.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love what you've both created, and how we I know we will go away from this and continue to add, won't we? Okay. We sort of got it to a certain point, but there's so much more still, so we'll see where we go. I know I have a lot more to do here, and I'm loving it. I really am. So this container that has been co-curated for us to share this with the audience now and into the future. Thank you for viewing, and thank you for coming along and participating. If at any time you want to connect with us, we do have a Twitter page, and you are more than welcome to come along. Just search Realm of Becoming. And we have, if you're familiar with Discord, we are opening a community there that you can come and then interact with us there, and future offerings will be announced there, as well as in other social mediums. But Discord is really where we can have that participation, that open dialogue with you, whereas YouTube feels a bit one way, don't you think? Like if you're on the receiving end of this conversation, it's not as fun. Participation through expression in conversation is just as meaningful as at the canvas, where we really like to relate. So
yeah, and we've got space there for pop-up painting parties and a cafe, and so there's more ways to connect, and like Noni says, have that two-way conversation.
And not just with us, with others that also enjoy this, and the opportunity to grow friendships through this process, and potentially even other common interests in that space. It's going to be an evolving, co-contributory, mutually beneficial space.
That's it.
I didn't bite my lip when I said that. That was a lot of words, but yeah.
Love it so much. So thank you so much. Thank you everyone for watching and being a part of this. And we're so grateful.
Your mic's gone, Bianca.
Yeah, Bianca, you're not on mute, and I'm sure you have
that's
said
right.
something wonderful.
I did. I was just saying how much fun that I had, and that I hope everyone else had as much fun as I did, because it has just been a ball. And yeah, it's been fabulous time, and I look forward to all of our future creations and offerings.
Yay.
I love how your painting looks like she's talking as you talk, Bianca. I just noticed the movement from her mouth, and that you know, that line that was there before has become expression and movement on the canvas.
It is awesome. Much more expression with that line now. Yeah.
I love it. You know, that breath.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do so love how so often that like tends to happen. It's like that there'll be something that happens on the canvas, and then it was just in the right spot for it to be that, like that coming out of her mouth, or that like it's just, yes.
Yeah. Love it.
I love it. So
yay.
Thank you guys. That's been awesome.
I'll challenge you both when we're at a point where we feel done. We could share these paintings in their completion on our Twitter page. What do you think?
Oh yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
With our writing.
I was just going to say something for other people when we're finished, to choose a colour, a dominant colour from your painting, and paint the edge of your painting and then sign it.
Yes.
Really,
and give it a title if you like as well.
Title, sign it, date it, but really painting that edge with a colour from your painting will just make it feel like it's done.
Yes.
Really.
It's a nice completion action. Yeah, for sure. And signing it off. Yeah. Love it. All right. Well, we will see you all soon. Stay tuned.
Okay. Lots of love.